picture this. You've just sat down to watch the movie. Right after the studio logos, you're expecting to go right into the film. Instead, you're treated to some of the best artistry and imagery you've ever seen. These are what are called opening title sequences, or opening credits, and were once a common sight to see in film. But now it's kind of an event to see these sequences before a film. So I have just one question. What happened to opening title sequences? To answer that question, we need to first establish the history of title sequences. Titles haven't existed as long as film has existed. In fact, the first title sequence came in 1897 when Thomas Edison put a copyright notice at the start of one of his films. So knowing Edison, someone else thought of the idea and he took credit for it.
What are you working on?
It's a phonograph.
Phonograph! I knew that because I invented it. I'm Thomas Edison. I rule!
During the golden age of Hollywood, opening credits were very simple. They would usually list several names across several title cards and were very short and nearly identical apart from the backdrops. But in 1954, cinema was changed forever when Otto Preminger contacted Saul Bass to create the title sequence for Premonish's film, Carmen Jones. This started the beginning of a legend. The Carmen Jones title sequence is notable not only for being Saul Bass's first title sequence, but also for featuring the FNAF song in it. Saul Bass would go on to create the titles for more of Premonish's films, such as The Man with the Golden Arm and Anatomy of a Murder, and other films such as Vertigo, North by Northwest, Psycho, Spartacus, It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, and Casino. Bass was a key player in the title sequence evolution, alongside other designers like Maurice Binder and Iwatodai. I hope I said that right, I can't really find a pronunciation out there. As movies became more popular, so did the unions wanting recognition for their work, understandably so. So title sequences started growing longer, until most of the credits were put at the end. In the 1980s, credits started to increasingly be just put over the first scenes of the movie, or on a black screen. Then in the 2000s, opening credits started to increasingly fade away, being pushed to the end of the film instead. They're not completely gone per se, but they're way less common than they were in, say, the 60s. Now that we have the history of opening credits covered, let's discuss why opening credits are awesome. I love title sequences, as they give filmmakers the opportunity to go absolutely ham with the visuals and aesthetics. They can also be great at setting the tone of a film. Take, for example, the opening credits for Alien. The slow reveal of the word alien while Jerry Goldsmith's masterful score is playing in the background. You're already on the edge of your seat, and the story hasn't even started yet. It perfectly sets up the suspenseful nature of Alien for me. I mentioned music earlier, and that can be a reason as well. The opening credits to Django Unchained are pretty standard when you think about it, but that music is just, it's so good. It perfectly sets up the character of Django as a badass, and even while enslaved at the start of the film, you know that he's gonna break free, hence why the film's called Django Unchained. Then there are titles that just go absolutely crazy with the visuals. Most James Bond movie title sequences are mainly excuses to show off amazing visuals, but they also give subtle clues as to what the following film will be about. See what I mean? Title sequences are brilliant for setting up a film tonally, musically, and visually. So why don't we see titles that often anymore? Unfortunately, the answer mainly seems to be that most audiences don't want to see title sequences. They just want to get to the movie's plot. In the 1990s at some point, Steven Spielberg himself reportedly did surveys, which concluded that modern movie audiences dislike opening credits. Apparently. I can recall a time that this became apparent to me. I was on the bus to school knowing my friends Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, which is my favourite movie of all time, by the way. When the title sequence started, they said something along the lines of, "Oh, it's like one of those old movies that has the boring bit at the start." I was gutted. The credits to Scott Pilgrim are so good, and you simply dismiss them because it's not yet gotten to the plot? What? I don't want to end this video on a downer though, so let's look through some of my favourite title sequences. I love the opening to Seven. Setting up the grimy, dark thriller with quick cuts, glitchy editing, and brief glimpses of the killer's methods. And plus, that 9 Inch Nails song slaps. The Good, the Bad, and the Uglies titles are just plain iconic. Pictures of the trio and the Civil War being dusted off. Horse riders being turned into credits by cannons, and Ennio Morricone's main theme just transcends time. Pick any person off the street and they'll instantly know what this means. They'll know it's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly because of this title sequence. The Deadpool movies all have amazing title sequences that set up the silly, goofy tone of these movies. They are truly hilarious and break the fourth wall. Well, at least the first two do. The third movie basically just has Deadpool dancing while killing guys brutally. But yeah. And speaking of hilarious, Doctor Strangelove's titles literally contain, well, let's just say for YouTube's sake, moments of plain intimacy. I love all the Bond title sequences, but if I just had to pick one, it would be GoldenEye. It perfectly shows that Bond can survive in a post-Cold War world, just as well as the movie itself. Catch Me If You Can's titles basically are like a mini version of the film itself, showcasing what you'll be in for. Superman's titles are just iconic. I love the text just flying onto the screen. John Williams' amazing score blaring in the back. Speaking of superheroes, Watchmen's titles are amazing at setting up the alternate reality that the film is set in. Pulp Fictions are great at setting up the style of the film. I love the sudden change from Missalou to Jungle Boogie towards the end of the sequence. The Taxi Driver titles are a beautiful drive through New York, highlighting how dangerous and simultaneously beautiful the city is. Monty Python and the Holy Grail's titles are basically just a sketch and perfectly sets up the fourth wall breaking tone of the film. It is just hilarious. I swear, if there's a moose joke down here. And finally, Terminator 2's titles are really phenomenal, showcasing how bleak the future will be if the Terminator actually succeeds. I could really go forever here, but I'll end here. To conclude this video, I love title sequences. I love them a lot. And with how much the Deadpool and Wolverine titles have been going viral, I really hope Hollywood takes this as a sign that we want more from a movie's start. So yeah, title sequences rock. I've been Icey. See you soon. Roll credits!